Let's get started with today's story. I still remember the day it all started. I came home that evening expecting nothing unusual. Same routine, drop my keys on the counter, loosen my tie, and maybe collapse onto the couch for a few minutes before figuring out dinner. That's how it always went. But the moment I walked in, I knew something was off. Sarah, my wife of 7 years, stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Not angry, not sad, just cold. Her voice was steady, controlled. "We need to talk." That phrase never meant anything good. I exhaled, already bracing myself. "All right," I said, setting my bag down. She took a deep breath, like she had rehearsed whatever was about to come next. Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You need to earn my intimacy." I blinked. "What?" She didn't flinch. "You heard me." I let out a short, confused laugh, waiting for some kind of explanation. But she just stood there, arms still crossed, like she had laid down some unshakable truth. "I don't feel the same way I used to," she continued. "I don't know if it's you or if it's me, but something is missing, and I don't want to force it." I stared at her, trying to process what I was hearing. Missing? What the hell did she mean, missing? "You mean..." I shook my head, trying to piece it together. "You mean affection? Closeness? What are we talking about here, Sarah?" "All of it," she said. "I just don't feel drawn to you the way I used to. But I want to. I just think, maybe if you tried harder, if you did more, we could get that back." I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was realization. She wanted me to earn her love, like I hadn't already spent years giving everything I had to this relationship. I studied her, searching for any sign that this was some kind of test, a joke, something, anything, that would make it make sense. But her expression never changed. I exhaled. "So let me get this straight." My voice was sharp now. "I have to prove myself to you? Like some kind of contestant trying to win a prize?" She shrugged. "It's not about proving yourself, it's about making me feel wanted." Making her feel wanted? I had always done that. But had she ever once stopped to think who the hell was making me feel wanted? I clenched my jaw and looked away for a second, trying to keep my thoughts from spilling out all at once. If I reacted out of anger, she'd twist it. So instead I asked, "And what about me? Do I have to feel wanted too, or does that not matter?" She sighed. "I don't know, Spencer. I just know I need something more." And there it was. This wasn't about us. This wasn't about fixing anything. This was about her. I thought back to all the times I had made sacrifices to keep our marriage running smoothly. All the times I had put her needs before my own. And now, somehow, that still wasn't enough. Now suddenly I had to fight for something I already thought was mine. And the worst part? She didn't even look nervous saying it. I didn't argue with her that night. Not because I agreed with her, but because I needed to think. Sarah expected me to chase her. She wanted me to scramble, to jump through whatever invisible hoops she was setting up so I could prove myself worthy of her affection. So instead of reacting, I watched. And it started immediately. The first few days she was subtle about it. Little comments. "You used to surprise me more," she said one morning over coffee, stirring her spoon a little too aggressively. I nodded but didn't engage. Later that night she sighed loudly while scrolling through her phone on the couch. "Wow, my coworker Eric just booked a surprise weekend trip for his wife. Can you believe that? So romantic." Bait. I didn't take it. She glanced at me over the top of her phone, waiting for me to say something, anything. Maybe a defensive, "Well, I've done nice things for you too," or a guilt-ridden, "I should plan something soon." But I wasn't playing that game. "Cool," I said, turning back to the TV. Her lips pressed into a thin line. That's when she started pushing harder. At first it was physical changes. She started dressing up more, even when she had nowhere to go. Tight skirts, makeup done, perfume, things she hadn't done for a while. At first I thought maybe it was just something for herself. But then I noticed the way she'd linger in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair. The way she'd glance at me out of the corner of her eye. Waiting for me to compliment her, to notice, to validate her. But I didn't. I could feel her frustration growing. One evening as I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone, she walked by slowly, too slowly, wearing a dress that hugged her figure just right. She paused in front of the hall mirror, adjusting an earring, shifting her hair over one shoulder. I kept my eyes on my phone. She cleared her throat. I don't know why I even bother looking nice. Then don't, I said, still scrolling. She stood there for a moment, waiting. When I didn't respond, she walked off. The next morning she was quiet, not angry, just waiting, expecting me to backtrack, to apologize. But I didn't. So she switched tactics. She started making plans without me, hanging out with friends more, talking about co-workers, especially the men, as if their names were just casually slipping into conversation. I recognized it immediately. One night as I was making myself a drink, she appeared in the doorway, dressed in heels and a sleek black dress. Her lipstick was darker than usual, hair curled. She had spent time on this look. She grabbed her clutch from the counter and lingered for a second, one hand resting on the surface. I might stay out late, she said casually. She was watching me, testing me, waiting for me to ask, with who? Hoping that I'd say, late? Where are you going? Expecting some small hint of jealousy, some sign that I still cared. That seeing her like this, dressed up, heading out, still mattered to me. I took a slow sip of my drink. Okay, I said, swallowing. Have fun. I saw it, the flicker of irritation in her eyes before she turned and walked out the door. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about us. This was about control. And she was losing it. The less I played along, the more restless she became. She stopped testing and started reacting. Her subtle attempts at manipulation, the comparisons, the flirtations, the vague threats of staying out late, weren't working. And that's when I saw something change in her. She wasn't just frustrated anymore, she was angry. It started with small outbursts. One night she was getting ready for bed when she blurted out, "You don't even try anymore." I was lying on my side, scrolling through my phone. I didn't even look up. Try what? She let out an exasperated laugh like I was the one being ridiculous. To make this work, to fix things. You don't even care about us, do you? I put my phone down and met her gaze. What exactly do you want me to fix, Sarah? She hesitated. I don't know, Spencer. That's the problem. You don't do anything. You just exist. I took a deep breath. So let me get this straight. You can't even define the problem, but somehow, I'm the one who's failing. Her jaw tightened. She turned her back to me and slid under the covers without another word. I sighed and went back to my phone. Then, things escalated. She came home late one night, storming through the front door and slamming her purse onto the table so hard I thought something inside might have broken. I looked up from the kitchen, chewing a bite of my food. You good? Her arms crossed over her chest. Did you even notice how late it is? I glanced at the clock. It was almost midnight. Yeah, I said, taking another bite. Her eyes narrowed. And that doesn't bother you? I swallowed. Should it? Silence. I could see the muscles in her jaw clench, her hands gripping her arms like she was holding herself back from saying something worse. You don't even care, do you? She finally said. I set my fork down, wiped my mouth with a napkin, and then I leaned back in my chair, studying her. She wanted a reaction. She wanted to hear desperation in my voice, to see jealousy in my eyes, to feel like she still had power over me. But I wasn't giving her any of that. You want the truth, Sarah? I said, my voice even. She didn't respond, just glared. No, I said, I don't. Her expression changed in real time. First, shock, then disbelief, then something else. Fear. She had spent so much time making sure I felt insecure, so much effort convincing me that I needed to fight for her. But now, I was the one slipping away, and she didn't know what to do with that. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while she lay beside me, stiff as a board, completely silent. For the first time in a long time I felt nothing. Not guilt, not regret, not even anger. Just emptiness. And that's when I knew. I was done. The next morning I woke up before Sarah. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the floor, listening to the sound of her slow, steady breathing. I could feel it, the finality of it all. There was nothing left to fix, nothing to fight for. I ran a hand down my face and exhaled. It was time. I walked into the kitchen and made coffee. As I stood there staring out the window, I heard her footsteps approach behind me. She was quiet at first, then, "Morning," she said cautiously. "Morning." She grabbed a mug and poured herself coffee, waiting for me to say something. But I didn't. Finally, she sighed. "Look, about last night." I turned to her. "I want a divorce." The words hit the air like a gunshot. She blinked. "What?" I took a sip of my coffee, then repeated, "I want a divorce." She let out a short, almost amused laugh. "You're just mad." She waved a hand dismissively. "You'll get over it." I shook my head. "No, Sarah, I won't." That's when I saw it. The panic. Not sadness. Not regret. Panic. She swallowed, her hands tightening around the coffee mug. "You're serious?" "Yeah," I said. "I am." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Then she scoffed, shaking her head. "You're being dramatic." I stayed silent. Her eyes darted around the room looking for something, some way to flip this back on me, to manipulate the situation like she always had. But she couldn't, because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't playing her game anymore. That night I packed my bags. Sarah sat on the couch, arms crossed, watching me, not saying anything, not begging, not stopping me, because she still didn't believe it was happening. She thought this was another one of our fights, another round of Spencer will get over it. But she was wrong. When I zipped up the last suitcase and grabbed my keys, I paused at the door. I looked at her one last time, half expecting some last-minute plea, some desperate attempt to keep me there. But she just sat there, lips pressed together, staring at the floor. I took a deep breath, opened the door, and walked out. She didn't stop me, and I didn't look back. 2 weeks after leaving Sarah, I had my own place. It was a small apartment, nothing fancy, the kind of place you get when you're starting over. But it was mine. No more silent treatments, no more walking on eggshells, no more waiting for someone else to decide if I was worthy of affection. At first it was strange, the quiet, the space. I thought I would feel lost, like I had abandoned something I was supposed to keep fighting for. But instead, I felt free. I started rebuilding myself. I went back to the gym, picked up hobbies I had neglected, and met up with old friends I had drifted from. And then, completely by chance, I met Anna. It wasn't planned. It wasn't forced. It just felt right. And for the first time in years, I felt wanted without having to earn it. Anna was different. There were no games, no tests, no expectations hanging in the air, waiting to strangle me. Being with her was effortless. We started spending more time together, grabbing coffee, going for walks, talking for hours about everything and nothing. I wasn't trying to make anything happen, but somehow it did. And then, one night, we went out for dinner. When we finished, we walked downtown, hand in hand, laughing about something. That's when I felt it, a shift in the air, a cold stare. And then we saw her, Sarah. She stood frozen on the sidewalk, her eyes locked on me like she had just seen a ghost. For a split second, she didn't move. Then slowly, she took a step forward. "Spencer." Her voice was soft, disbelieving, like she wasn't sure if I was real. I nodded. "Sarah." She looked between us, her eyes flickering to Anna, then back to me. "You moved on?" Anna squeezed my hand. I kept my voice even. "Yeah, I have." Sarah's lips parted slightly. She looked stunned, like the idea of me being happy, truly happy, had never even crossed her mind. Her hands curled into fists at her sides. For a second I thought she might say something, but she didn't. She just turned abruptly and walked away, her pace too fast, too stiff, like she was barely holding it together. I watched her disappear into the crowd, knowing one thing for sure. This wasn't over. And I was right. The calls started that night. Then the texts. "How could you move on so fast? Did what we had mean nothing to you? We need to talk. Please." I ignored them. Then she followed Anna on social media and messaged her. "Stay away from my husband." I knew she'd try something desperate. And sure enough, she did. One night she showed up at my apartment. "Spencer, please," she said, tears in her eyes. "I made a mistake." I exhaled. "No, Sarah. You made a choice." She shook her head. "You're my husband." I shook mine back. "Not anymore." She cried, begged, but it didn't change anything. "I'm happy now, Sarah. Don't come here again." She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, but I was done listening. I stepped back and shut the door. For a moment I just stood there, staring at it. No second guessing, no regret, just certainty. All I felt was relief. And for the first time in a long while, I was looking forward to what came next. Thank you for watching.